يكأي يخستيني تكت يوهان ياكأي هايتي يا خانا هتوسكو وجين يقتل أتكي أداتوي داسا وتليخ استيقا ديخا تداسا إتوسكو هاينكينيكي أدا وسا يخسخن تكت يوهان وسا ييك أخاهين أجويختو يكأي يقتنجي كقوا آخي ييتخوها Burke.
Gwrthad, tlyll slingit cwsti I dat, tys chanwan cwsti I dat. Dach, ydach, yatai si at eich, dlica cenach chili crisp, chwalli eich. Yat, yisitingi, just chwnach awe ach keit yke. Tlwch aadé I da y cochau mas ye daden ni. Just chaye gugi. Actually, it's a duck. Yeah, cook day. What a mas ye daden ni. Cajun cut recipes, chili crisp kach. Just yields tachi sugar si aku at on si aku at yatai chanwan hini tuch kaslisikruhin ka chagut chanwan at hai wushot ye khwasene Chwnach ach gyd yke slycad at crach chweti kwat cwnt cwch Tlein hot askisani chukan just si arti slinuxi at tsu vanilla yet chili crisp chwnach yke we chanwan ku Slychastu tua ushgu we si arti nuxi at chili crisp adach kua kunachwe achit hike. Ye awe kawage yeshka sneak gunas chishach ketin sa achi.
يكأي قلت شيش
Adach tis let me see wutuliyéx. Oh, okay. Keishi yayagi kakwahusa dot tis dutla CRT linuxi at go ahead chagut
شكشاني أوس يأوسا وتتي
okay can chish
قلت شيش إنكي نيجي أدات واسا أختوسكو خسكو أديدس إيه يا هوندا كهيتي و تلنجت غينخ قلكي ويدوساكو أت شلتوكو أتخا داكي هيتي شلتوكو أتخا يدلكاك إنخ أورجانيك خوا يا هاسوجييتي وأوسكي إتش we chili crisp atuyeti tleka ka Cajun dana ka just tleka ka Tlein crisp just chayego ging ka we just like away just akaye we tika hooch ajoe haqach nuch we chili crisp ka katze ach to us go ramen a ka ku ka Tlein Asa kallasiku, kallasiku at akaye kwati. Okay?
Yeah, Ijide Yekwati, way actually, Chris. Okay. Okay.
Sheesh.
Shisha.
Just chili crisp ku ikach to asaku. Stakat ku yiji de kekach to say. Okay? I do set.
Kat aya. Ach tu asiku ye wakshayik yik kwasine
Yeenáxne awakshi.
ah
Ikashuk khawaki.
ah that's she itinage ah okay ach ach at na at adat qadatan yakhana yatak shikat tlash conjugation yatak kanach conjugate at na at wutuliyéx ach yakau in ka ach tag in adat qadatan shukanach aya ach at udas wutuwa ach tag ka chat ach tag awe at jik tla you do a sock kicks adich pasity uhan ach tag ka chat ach awe chicht a ka a kachwa ka ya at udas ya shawat ka kukach you do sagen ach tag do lilk aya do aye awa do at udas ach tu asigu ach aye do at udas yach ayach ach tu asigu uayaye ach aye kukach do udas in kicks adich satin so shitkach ye shitkach ye wutuwa ja ye natuurlijk echt niet we ik ga kwaniach we doe het echt ja kutan ja hai tug dastia dugies we doe het echt ja kutan dastia owe ook nog adig has du na tlachus tien we ik ka kwan at she owe ook nog adi has du ai owe we at she ka at echt uh, 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 ach ach ja kal kachat aya ja hai tug kai kan ka shake tla you has do a sock ak den tan hasity ka elowach aya ka gwantan city ka chukan chukane dich city the kat uhan shada at wutuliyéx we yad yacht a chawdach owe shaqaitla ha it outly tu aadé shada at wutuliyéx yashadaat takat uhan wutuwa.aat ya celebration ya idatsa udat for the tansa tlag aya tlall duya wutusatin ya hayituch ya tlag jikla llwllach yatig udas our ya hayituch ya one ganians owe blanket you do a sock like yeenáx tlag chad ewa woot ich inge in a titch like thick blanket isagak as robe yena sock like yeenáx Llingi yeenáx just you do a sock ichod ji yik just you do a sock kicks adi chasati uhan at owe we chicht ka yesh ka kachwa ka ya ya tak tunach na teji chicht aya ka we yesh wana ni soe yan chosene yan yen cha h nachat echni yaidat yatse guk tlench guk ench chosleach ach ya kaw owe tu kan ya ek a chwyn owe tu kan a kaw ka ach guk enchies chanach yak du di ite tu kan chanach chasachanyat ja je dat as ach ku at la tu dat for the tan tu kan kai kan where a ka hasakawa kai tu kan kai kan ka shaqaitla ka waqistin owe where would the kai waqistin aya kai kan ka shaqaitla hastu tlach city tlach ach tlagte ach ku at la tuach city tlach du ya hai ach dika tlachwasa stu gachat de ti ach it has with the she huch
Echa we gan cheese. Kashakai we echta ati.
gonna she
Gylchisha, masak chylsatin I jejenei, gylchish.
yuku hangiek yeswe guk tlench yukunak such as like just like you connect
Oh, you cannot.
uh
Yeah, wait, that's it. Adisa yidetro. Achtu asagu khosa tini dasa yelleich. Chak wat ksa yelleich yat.
Hataya ya tak ya tak kach sine yata wasa duasak linga kenach lightning
Hek klukro.
kluku yach kluku ach ku at latuwu Sydney Akagi Tlein Shawat Dusai ka we kaken iti tin yata guk adi kach sine tsu gonna fish ka ach twasigu yi satini yata gwash jinkat ka kejin tak shuakik we Tawyat at Uwu Dakahidi Day, Museum of American Indian, Day Huagut Ka Huasatin We Shakiat We Kawut Shakiat Ka Wegao Du Ahuch Ahuch Binge ka Wasaku Shakde Kwa Wasaku ka Diak at Tlein Tak Diak Alutik Yidat Alutik Kachu Supyak Asai or Kwa Ach ha shagun Norwegian ka Irish ka Shinget ka Supyak Alutik too ha city ha city ach shagun achwe we shakyat chasikan kunach usk ka we kawut shawa kawut shakiat share Chushugu yach replica ka kawut ka yata Chushugu at we at Ushan we Kikutsi Chushugu at ach tua sigu ach tua sigu Huatei cut ka diat this you ha wutuliyéx aadé at uwu dasa ka yesu yechwaji at uwu neste kuchte ka gukta jesh tech museums atwe wutuliyéx this at uwu conjugation.
Okay, الجيش تويك إخوة ستيني داسا يتلغيخ قداسا يتأي يو أداتي تختتنك يا تا قلت لي سكو لكت يوهان خوني يا أخساي أخشكت خوا خوني جاغو دخ فنتن جيكوبس يدو ساغن قلت شكت خوني قدو شكت خوني قدو شكت خوني يه أوه دساي أوه قاكشات أوه لكخ أديخ ستيتسو يا دداية يتي شي سقوهي قاياده ناكشان قاياده تقجيه جني وان قنين سوي museum ياغ وي Alaska State Museum يدو ساقو هستجيو ياتا جاغو دخ يا تخي شكي أتقاكاوود تسو أكاييتي يأوه جاغو دخ هستجيه وتي يس يا وقاشنجي دايقو هلواساق وتي قوئيك دي قا أغاخيك إيخ جاكدين أدايي جيني يا دو ست جاغو دخ قاكشلا أجوي تلكوزي أو وقاو وتستيني يا تبنخ أدقو إيك ياكتاد بالجيش قلت يتزيني ودشان خط قا شوت كيت دوش ودشان يا تل يتزيني قا جاغو دخ قلت تلاغو يوكي أدي ساتسو تسوكاكي هاكن كاخ هلي خو قلت يوخي تنك
cha good at ka ich echkat sak nain kwasa ich kua akaku ke adanuk wanganins ha case Indian tacos ka chili akin yachas os kayach achkai kayaki ha Latsini Kawu Ati KitchenAid mixer. Akhladu Jeet Wasitan Kake Dushkach Ki Saknain Ush Zidane at Cook Asi Aktua Sigu Everything Seasoning Quat Saknain.
قلت جيش اوكي قلت decha sai kutsati a kadeka kwashahi. Gwalli wakshi yeka kwasanetsu. Ja achtuasa good naski asai kutsati. Ja dua. Tlenuk sitleo. Tsagwadiach yati tlenuk sitleo. Tlenuk sikadanja. Yusaku dasawe. Ja English yeenáx. Tlenuk
Sugar?
Sugar.
Tsagwadiach yati tlenuk sitleo.
Brown sugar?
Tlenuk sikadanja.
Icing sugar?
What? Yeah, that's it again. You do a song.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Yeah. Kadanja yacheti. Take the hin way. Gwell jin katak shuahi. Achu awe UAS schoon one has it to us a goo. Ich katsaknin has ours ka has our hoon. Ye awe dana has it to us a goo. Has to GA wutien. An aya. Wait. Schoon one yawahihi. Has a yausahi. Ye awe we the hooni kuya the high. On the hoon kuya the how kusani. Has actually yech gwell. Gleikach enach commercials. We take a shawat. Knachawe awasad do a sag. Kashake gwell ye. Shy gleikach and a kunach shy usatian. John ko awe commercial cook ayaye ausani. We ich katsak name. Klinuxi kadanja a kaye wuti. Kakone awe a cook awa tug. Jutle has a kaushahiti. Aka awe. Take just take a chuk. A chuk a dulutunach. Aka we klinuxi kadanja the kat yech awe keuch tug. Konachoish the shuk a dachli wukuk. A dach no a dach wujahi. Gwnnw cheese hagun kach yake. Ach tuasagu chwachai isaknini. Wage? Yeah, okay. Let's see. Oh, shit. Yeah. Kagak. Oh, okay. So I guess if we got key up. Oh, yeah.
This is okay, right?
Okay.
Cool. Ik at wutuwa. Due to ushku. Play hit. See. Yeah. At Yahai. Shahid. Yawaka at Wusku. Gwa Kushe English wisdom. Koa at Wusku. Koa Ik at wutuwa due to ushku.
Ikoya Juan.
Tlein. Yeah, no, yeah, not right now, today. Kahit, yeah, at Yahai, Kok Shahid. Wagit Uwaya Satsi,
Okay.
kind of.
Oh,
Yandakin.
okay.
I think Hooch.
Okay. Gilchish Rukecha, Adekashikit Yeka, Adeuke Watani Ada. Okay. Gilchish. Sukaka. Gulte Hooch.
Yata.
Okay.
Ari kanu achtu yani kayagi as yagi not
Goy Juan.
wasato sa ik kakis. See. Oops. Oh. Trying to figure. Yeah, okay, yeah. Not ik kakis yudo sakage.
Kerekis.
Okay. Goon Donna wutuliyéx. Wasato sa at asteroid. Meteorite.
Kiwa ka wudzunaye.
Kina.
Kiwa ka zunaye.
Kiwa ka
Zunaye.
Kiwa ka zunayi. Okay. This is, yeah, that's a ovoid. Not Celtic knot. Chana has plasticity. Okay. Acht kawutsu. Ata. Secret tool. Test drill.
Oh.
Wasato sa Ishitse. Eik kawut. Yata. Was Tagasahen Yudosa Yata?
That's the one. Oh. Takasa.
Tagasahen
Hen.
rubber?
Hen takasa.
Hen Tagasa.
Takasa yesha.
Shechit Yata too. Washechit Yata too. Tagasa Yesha. Yesha. Hooch.
Well, check.
Ish.
Yeshad akasa.
Yesha. Dagasa. Dagasa.
Yeshadana.
Yeshadana. Oh.
That's the way. Yeshadana.
Lure.
One kanins dana kachiti we dehuni. We kasiye kuhida ten akade hasakashit.
Mm.
Kwaltuchiyacheti kakekadana yeshadana.
Kinjich Wandana.
Oh.
Kakekadana, just uski dana.
Ish. Yakay Satini Yohan.
Gulchish Tlein, Satini, Ukecha, Yuchatangi. Gulchish, the cut Johan, Ukecha way, Tachkonach. Yiwakshi Ekakosani, Dasacholi Yechzu. Gultdech at Ayachtosago, Datuch Achtatani. Yeshukwa ya talk iti our kachshit yata. Yale, we border our tau. Ye our Canadian border aside kutiti, gwashisatin keyishi, kanawus, the tla awe asai our outlier. One kanin zach to us agu, dakka de nachakuchi. One kanin's koa haschet kewus. One achse, take the hin away, we border a kade kach, huakuch, border a deshli koa. Kachoe chat kewusk. Shit, Atling gau age, yake I kochu, wade Quanlin, Katra Hukoa, Wanach soe. Just the cut that yak is the tinge, Hatlatki. Wade do Hatlatki, wade do Hatlatki. Quashli tundutani yeti, waita, Ginjitron ani, waita washtan Quan ani, Hatkot like. One kanins klidzi aya ya hachunkiyen kahakaniyen has to khande with a kuch a joyata kachshit we an sahech at a kachwe kachshit we yesh ka yesh yegi aya yak kayadu has to an kweyi ach aya a kaus ach aya ya an sahin we yesh anas hin ya anas hin we yesh Ewer to asugu yell joy ausaha a awelltidain ya ach chunkian ka achkani and has to chandika kwakuchu. Passport tasha atina chatuti gwasha de kwakuchu. Gwas yell keka a yawatlak. One kalin zach to asugu we kashuk hawagi kach aya kachshiki. One kalins klewu kach kuch kach jadasa kach. Ye awe shkun ke chat butien. Gwash nask jin kat nask awe ach kataguch wusatien. Ya ach koa tlatuwu. Chat kawa shuk. A joy chatlak awe kachshachit nuch. Ye awe has duchetach ayach wasa ach koa. Ya yidat chosaku ade kachshachit ye. Chayegu gink yata ka yata. Ka ya achoni tsu adato e yuchachtatan. One kanins kachsha hitwe a yahai. Ka ach kani ka agwashachuni has to dat you tachatank. Kutan aya you do sagan goshkiwe ya ach kani. Glekach enach Dan Marino. Dan Marino. Konachawe which kiki aya at what kuchin. أقا وش كتلنيكن قنخ أوي يا هو أوي دو إيش قد دو شت إيش وش خونيخ هسوستين جاكو تكتهين خن أكاوتلنيك ياتا ويجي وداك هيت قوستين يا دو ديشو يا دو تلقو أدقي جيك أيا جي وداك هيتي أيا وتين كيك أقوتان أييك هسوتين قل أتحس أودنا قنخوي قوة ويجي أتشوي وخواقي جندي هسكاوس تيخ قا هسي تواسكو تسيكو أتونخ أوي يكاوا هاي قش هسي تواسكو نيشتي هسو قوخو قا و أتودو قوخو أتيكتي هسو آت و أتودو قوخو أتقا قيقا cruiser you do a sako atlet kak inach wega gwash just take a kai kliat e kaya kajet kutzati bench seat you do a sak let kak inach ye awa haswa kuch nakide kesh an a lay yet the cut has to shedich kachawu kinde wu ha ya daich has ausaku jagudat has to take Kashtagenach has to take the outlain. Das actually has ausatin. Hadakuchi, you do a sako at Hadakuchi. Chakut saya kutzati, cougar, mountain lion. Eka, you gay at the shagay at where Kaye will kucho at away a kach away kashias kunach away. Kaye will kuch where at would do to kucho at. Hey, de hashuatan with kahan ka a dachawe dachas wujehich. Like a dachawe dach wujehich. Kashtagenach gone de yich yakana juch. We adwoted to kucho. We douche Tlein. A dach wugud. Ka a dach wujehich. Wujet has our Tlein. Kayatayach. Aka aadé has wushich. Has to a guk. Katsu a yik de has wugud ka a dach has wukuch. Chitlay aya achuni ko a tlech de hin achkani. Dark with the git. Keltsu at wugud. Wasach tu wuni kwega. Tlech atsu ya achkani. Hutsu kagwantan chusatien. Chusatan. Gulkiwi. Ka hutsu achkani. Wujin chawustien. Chashi ish. Richard Peterson. Kaisa an kaya kuchwa u. Gwash 2006. Kek behin chosatin we dis ke wuhihi. Achtuasuko ya hai kachshachit. Yadu we aya hai dis. Eka dis awe. Yake an kadushkit at achji yewutin. Kachwa Tlein adaye jachwaneyan. Ajawe jidnaski nachawe at wutu atkin. Achtuas at natu atjin. Achtuasaku we kaisa an disitin. Which a kach aya kachshachit. Yata Photoshop teen away yachwatlaq. Ya achtuwuk asaku. Ya yata aya chwallayechzu. Gwash we aya hai hin chakach. Ya awe achtu yak ya klingit ech kashhidi awe kachshachit. Na koi you do a sago at yata gwash chak gat hate, coach. Kacha akawe. Oh, just to achtuasa guisatini. Yet, Janaskina Howe Hayatki Kawakshi has ours ne, we echta adi. Du gawu owe kachshit, we a kachawe honey, what keet, daklawe de hasati, ya achyatki, ya achlich to daklawedi. A joe has to gisawe, ach to us a good kachshiti. Ya the koa. Ja achuni, Mike D'Angeli owe a kaushikit, a kach owe keet. Waita kasa nak do a sock, Paddy McNeil, who owe outliech waita. Du khu ka ach shat owe wuji na daye jitune, and tesh den hosaku a de dokis, yeah. We chu, like tlea, we tlea owe at kakwahash. It was aquati. Aka awe hu awe. Aka waka. Yad ako akonach. Gwash kuch the tea away. Hajit awa tea. Chatka. Gwash achunch. Gwash kecha. Keinaka achtlak hechasuk. Dech achjiko. Siqe. Hu awe aka waka. Yada. Gwash awas kuun. Ya ach yedki sak. Daklawe dich hasukuk sati. Siqe away keuchne du tla. Keuchne ka kakashad ka kinkaudini. Kanachwe ashakukwe kawut an ye jene. Yata koa du ku ye wutien jutle kuwustien. Kuwustie. Ya wega koa keda at. Ho owe a kausane. Ya kusne. Ach glag. Ho owe kanach tedi. Du tla in yuch ach de tanen. Ruth Casco, ho koa Rainy Casco. Ye owe ach tu yuk gwash datke chasatini at gatsku. A Tlein ko hasarge hastu tlechta adi. Chosaku achu tlech hastu jiye wuti. A joyach tuas gushia de hini ko hasashaku gade de tlechye. Gunchishach igin za achi. Ja, yidat gwash virtual walking tour you do a sago at. Click the hin awa yachwatlach we Dana. Dana teen awa Burke Museum a yidek kwagudi. Ye awa hechwasaku wasa at gakwane. Hastutla an ko ach UAS ye jene tzate. Dana teen hazawa we an kadish hiti at. Haskach wawus a Tlein at gwash yeka kwasatinu ach tuwasaku a yahai kachshihiti. Aka hazawa we Tleinak atla anika. Du aich sati yatsina kaya kuk. Ye awa chanak kawanik hitwasa kwati at chitle yechi yag. Neke. A Tlein ach tuwasaku a yahai kachshihiti. Kone a yide kwagud. Gwashi satin we museum. Just chaye ko gengi a yisatin. A Tlein at away. The katas de kuku tug. A joyach tuyak a dekwagudi. Ya ach ish du dlak du yit ye jene yag. Ach tu wuk du in chat wusatien wega. Ya koe has du ye jene ya a Tlein kuk owe kutsati. We ya ha ayi dat we at ka kaje ite. Chosatin ko ayata kasaye at jwe dachte hin karshachit we agahai. Wanach soe achayeti. Kawanach soe du atukoe at ayach yachroe kachat. Adatawe khoshuk. Ajoe karshachit. Aqaqone istakhatatawe achtuwasagu khosatini. Ya ach wasa akhsani awe yakhayeti. Qeqa ko awe first Tlein the tiny younger cousin khsati. Ajoe ach ishana nakha ach sanikhsati. Ausaku dasa achtuwasagu khosatini. Qone awe yanuane Tlein at wujit has ausani. Ya shukwa the cut yech aya achtlaqen. Achtuwasagu khosatini datirsa. Guksa yejakone naske gi qanach akhat butien. Aqa khosatin ya chaltakat yedach takat wetlinget ani dachaya Tlein at hasuchi ye butien. Qeqa qo tlingit qade kina ai qatsutskan ai achtuwasagu khosatini. Akhwaqshi ausane ya gao. Hu owe Bill Reed you do sagen. Hu owe akaushachit. Qanachoe du yejene qadu je iti. Qanachoe adayachza ajoyach tu yek khosatini. Su ayakashachit we ayahai. Aadé owe akaushachit ye. Gudach ya de kina kasaka ya kasaka. You do a sag. We duk kach kadishiti at kasaka. Yisikuke dasawe akak. Dasawe yata. Gwash yata ye kuke. Tel kuke. Tel yege. Dasawe wasa do sag yata.
Shacht or shacht.
Shakt away.
Keat.
Uski Keat away adayeti Qanachoe adat you tuchtatan. Was yisakut was deich sandechak na sandechak shua hichen. Klak an dat away you atutla atken. Dachun gas kutzeti. Yai hit yi dach ayi. Klak gun to tlak. Klak yel kata. Klak duktut. Klak qanakadid. Qad jistu achch away. Qad jistu wa achch. Hu akawati. Hu gwash akawachak. Ya shakt. Wutusaku aadé away. At ashyechya. Klakudzi at away yang. Ya do Gwash we shakt. Kleshya at ani kutzeti. And juik chak away. Gwash akaye wutien. Gwash we keet. Kleshya yisaku keet goosh kutzeti. Gwash yat etwasagu we shakt. Klesh goosh kakagishahit. Wutusaku keet ayakoa. Ajwe yach dugun akaye wuti. Gwash we keet yadu keet goosh yadu adich yadu was hechosaku was adu saklingek enach gwash keet gush ke. Tlekach in a saddle. Ye awe, one canines a chach kutzeti, chach, kaut the chach aya. Has to, Wuhan Koa, what FBI has ausaku. Ha, kek, ek, tak, dantli. Keet tsu, has to ek, tak, dantli, yacheti. Yang, a joy, a kausha hit yat a yacheti. Jakuta doe chwasatin, konachoe, ach wak kawati en koa, yatlakt. A joy konachoe kausha hit, we a yahai. Chakoe kone wushtachye yosani. Wushtach asai khazati yata khatze okak. Ka a kausha hit a good ye decho. Kayat atsu. A Tlein tlakt away chwasatin yug. Achu awe tlakt. Kesh a yahai khazati a da. Wash yata yejini tlakt. A joy kesh a kachawe. Would ni gwat. Just wash has to ai a kade. Achu a koa. We on like a ka dusteich klacht has as ian on. A joy wait at to clash dasa a da ye wuti. Just on ye has jiwene. Gwell gone wushtachie as ausene. Gwell gantletade has our shit. Gwell it's tin wutuliyéx yata. Echosaku kadzas. Jadasai twasago dat yuchitani guk gwell Ach twasagu chwasaku aadé wushtinye has awas ne yata. Ya oe kautlitz iku at kuwustien. Gaat tien wutuliyéxen. Tlekach in a fish glue you do a sago a teldasa chasaku atadko. One kanins hasakawa ka we zastin tichtin. One kanins we too high yacheti hasashliech klutin. Ja, weta a kach yersene. Ja, kajuka a cook away. Ja, achsani a dewu good on. A ka away sagutin a dach yersene. Ka yan a dag kuch yan chosene. A ka a yahai kach shekit. Ja, tlekuzi at one kanins tlech the cut at aya a ka. A Tlein clue yisatin. Hechosaku aadé at gartutla aadé yat ada. Yadu positive space cut negative space you do sago at yayidat. Achtuasaku Lingi yeenáx a qone dat yuk gartutla aadi. Yatltasa a kaye yati. Yako we a walk. Yadu gwell a kiji, gwell a gug, gwell a shaki. Clachlagu, clediewe dutin, dasa a caudujihidjag. Hanachaweach tuas a guchas a kuha, aadé wutuliyéx yada. Hanachaweach shakit. Yat at a kudzati. Gwell chagudlu tin, a joy chosatin yag. Kunach gwell yat yatlu. Which is a ku katuwa sakuwan, tlach chachaitin, wutuliyéx wellakt. Yat a gwell chagudlu. Joy at kunachawe adat yutachotan. Gwell we tleik a chagudat choa. Yat at a kudzati. Asai, what's that do? Isikuke? A percula. Takuti. You do a sock. No, it one means wutuliyéx wellach kate. Kahasti twasagu we aat in the akagayati. Ichwasagu wanaxaya. Stiewe has atliyéx. Yatatsu likuti. Tsakiti tlakt. We tach uski ako. Yatatsu akaye wutin. Ajo yisatin. Aadé chakutye te kone awe yachtutinye. Yatatsu. What's that do? Takuti akaye yatin. Tlek atsuk katehuch. Yata hilwasa. Acho iklagi. Acho yata yach. Adat yutachotan. Wanaxawe chakutye te aya wutuliyéx wellakt. Tlein awe aadé wutuliyéx. Shia deheni a kudzati. Ya achtuas Tlein ayaha kudzati. Gwell we chat a tu de kak gwashahid. Guksa. Chishuhan. Reflection gawu grammar gawu ayak eka. Wasawuti. How's everybody? Thoughts, questions?
Just tuasagu chosaku we tlingit atyachayi tlachmas gunayedi dekina atyachayi just gwell in kananik mas what I'm trying to ask is like this Tlingit art that you've shown us is very different from Haida, and I'm just what's the difference? Like, what am I? Do you know what I'm saying, or I don't.
Flat work, Tlingit and Haida are pretty similar. I think with haida, generally you get a lot more. I think with Tlingit you get more, it's a little bit more rigid and tends to be pretty solid, like really thick lines, pretty sometimes hard corners, uh, and then just a lot more stability maybe in the design. Just it's the form line is very true to the rules, and it tends to be pretty thick. And then among haida, you tend to get a lot more bending, I think, bigger eyes, a little bit of one design flowing right into the next one, and especially in carvings, like something's feet is going through something's ears underneath it, and so you get some flow through going like that. With Simshan, you tend to get the lines get fairly thin, and that really opens up the space. So in the Burke, those pieces were Tlingit, haida, and Simshan. And so the first one we looked at was like old haida tattoos, and those were way different than like haida form line on like a box. And so it's really fun to get into, and would have to sit around and like just really come up with the terms for like all of this stuff, like how to talk about those differences, and even how to talk about like how do you talk about this art and the language. It's been really fascinating to me to think about that. Okay, so I had a couple thoughts. One was when we do this aadé verb thing, we're getting the way verb, right? It kind of depends on what that verb is doing. But sometimes it's aadé verb and sometimes it's aadé verb or that could be a you. Why? Do we know why? When do we add that y on the verb?
That's the relational, right?
Yeah, so you'd say aadé wutuwa, and you'd say aadé yana gut. Yeah.
It's when it's got conjugation.
It's got what? It does. Well, you're on the right track.
I made it up because I wanted to sound smart for 2
Okay.
seconds. No idea.
I was looking at some notes today, and it was just for yay though. That if the classifier has an I in it, then you add an I at the end, and if it doesn't, then you don't add it.
Plus I classifier, add that suffix. That's what it all comes down to. So if it's in an imperfective, like an imperfective act, like you want to say aadé. So you're talking about the way somebody sewed something. Aadé awa ka ye. I think it's actually about this way. Yeah. Yeah. And this will always be low. And it'll actually flatten out some things too. Like that might even get flattened out. That's something I don't fully understand. I just don't even mess with it. But you say aadé, the way they're sewing it right now, because there's not a plus I classifier. So like yeah, I don't know how to sew. And that's a good way to tie things together with like knowing, and especially if you could say shakuk. They really know sewing. Because some of them have like noun forms as well. So like daqis is the noun form. But I'd say aadé duqis, yeah, which would be how to sew. Because then the fourth person works really well for those things. Especially if you don't know who did it, or you're just talking about how to do something. Aadé kadulcheta, yeah, how to play basketball. Okay. When we get to yeenáx, why is there an extra K on there?
Is it because it's actually I was gonna say it's because it's really repetitive. Like
So when
or
you
no.
have repetitive of a na conjugation, it will get you, a plus I classifier, and a K at the end. You chayatunk. you, you, I think that one, it should be a kawanik, I think. But that's the rule there. That's the only one of the repetitives that gets a plus I classifier. Just does. The rest. So when we look at those repetitives, which is a good time to sort of, where do we want to go? I know where. Okay. So I think, oops, not this one. Last summer, or maybe it was the year before, I can't remember. Some spring in the recent past, I made this chapter in the Tlingit verb component handbook, is what this thing is called. And it explains how conjugation prefixes work. And it starts talking about like thinking about verb modes and talking about like what those verb modes sort of mean and trying to sort of examine some things and how English starts to change when you move a verb around. And then it starts going into basically looking at the things that are in a prefix and what happens when you pull them apart and what happens when you put those things back together. And talks about some patterns that you got to kind of get used to, like the perfective jumping over the cha, which it does all the time. So does the aerialis. They like to jump on the other side of cha. For I think all the others, they stay right where they are. And then, so it just sort of gives some examples of what these things look like if you pull all of the things out, and then when you let them back go. And so prefix building is a really, really big thing. So then it talks about your 4 conjugation prefixes that can exist. So this is spot 1, 2, 3, and 4. So with all of these sort of verb components, sometimes we have a thing, and that thing has multiple sort of slots. And in this one, you can have, I think, 3 things max. I don't think you can't have 4. So starting to think about these, ga on slot number 1, and on slot number 3, 0, na, and qa. Those are all of your 4 conjugation prefixes that are specifically tied to conjugation type. A ga verb, like yake. A 0 verb, like cha, eat it. Or I guess gake, be good. A na conjugation, like nata, go to sleep. And a qa conjugation, like qanu, sit down. So these ones will pop up in certain things, like you have to activate the conjugation prefix of that verb. And then 2 of them also have side jobs. So ga has a side job. It says, I also do futures. Count me in. Ga is in every future verb. Doesn't matter what the conjugation type is. And the future doesn't require you to activate the conjugation prefix of the verb. And we might be getting confused because there's the conjugation type, which is built into the verb, and then there's the conjugation prefixes, which is these 4 slots of these things. But what's wild is like this is all you have. But through various combinations, this is how you get perfective, habitual, hortative, is with these 4 spots. The other one that has a second job is na. And I was like, I also have a side job. If you were in that progressive mode, ya nagut, ya anasquain, ya anashquain, I need to be there for that. So that na is there for every one of those progressives. Over here, on the last spot, you've got the perfective or the qa mode. The qa mode is in the future, it's in the hortative, it's in every hortative, it's in every potential, and there's a couple other forms. So kind of just thinking about what these things are and how they exist and what they generally do. You just have to remember that this one's on the left side of this. So you might have some goo things because those 2, it goes in that order. The others are on this side. Any questions about any of that? So then it goes through some examples. It shows a few different verbs, and it puts them in all of the major modes. There's like some pretty wild ones out there, like and some of us talk about them. I talked to Cheat Woo about like the consecutive, and there's one I can't even remember what it's called, but it pops up kind of only in songs, where you'll say Achtu sakunuchi ani kaguti. And so there's some different things that pop up in some of these. So then it shows you what is in the conjugation for these. And so we would call these command, prohibitive, imperfective, negative imperfective, perfective, negative perfective, future, negative future. Hortative, habitual, negative habitual, which we might change the name of someday. The potential attributive, the potential decessive, the conditional, and the repetitive. So this is a cool chapter to maybe, I'll put this on our class webpage. I tried to sort of be as straightforward as I could with the writing with this, but just to talk about, like, what do these things do? Can I say it in as few words as possible? That was my goal. And then it goes, and then it gets to this section, which is where I had a bit of a brainstorm a couple years ago, where I said, instead of thinking about this in terms of all these modes and their meaning, what if we ordered them in terms of the pattern building? And like, what does that mean? So that means if you can put a perfective together, that's your base, that's like your foundation. And from that, you can add klesh and and now you've got a negative perfective. You can have a dependent clause, a decessive clause, and a negative decessive for all of these. For example, chosaku, chosaku, kechosaku. And then this one you'd say, achtuasaku, chosaku. And then this one, chosakuan. And so I know it, chosaku. I don't know it, kechosaku. I want to know it, achtuasaku, chosakuan. I used to know it, chosakuan. Oh wait, achtuasaku, chosakuwa. And then I used to know it, chosakuan. And I used to not know it, kechosakuan. But now I do know it. And so when we get to these are our repetitives here. And I have to rethink this thing a little bit because I think I had a great discussion with Chief Wu, who's a great close reader of all of this stuff. And I think all na conjugations are actually this one, as far as we could tell. But I don't, there's a lot of gray areas in here for me. But so what this chart shows you, and later this became the conjugator, which tries to just deal with it one mode at a time. But when you look at this chart, this says, okay, what needs to be there? What needs to be there? So for a 0, you add the underline X. You don't need anything else. For the na, you're going to add U, you're going to have a plus I classifier, and you have a K at the end. For ga, you're going to have K in front of it, and then a CH. And that's really it. So if you say K chashetch, I catch it regularly. They throw me the ball, I catch it. And then if it's qa, that K changes to ye, but it still gets that same CH on the end. But that's good to know because if you see a CH, that's not always the habitual. If you see K or ye in front of it, it's probably that repetitive. Ye chashetch, I catch him. Like I'm a dog catcher or something. But that's how those repetitives work. And then and you could take a look at this and just look at all of these. This is sort of shorthand for starting to see how these work. Someday I'll have like really complete lessons for every one of these modes. But like one of the other things it's saying, like if you can build a habitual, then the negative habitual, which actually, so this is, it always is that way, or they always do it. This one hasn't been that way. They haven't done it yet. So this is where pattern building is more important than meaning, because your brain probably wants to say, well, if you put not in front of it, shouldn't that mean like it's never that way? You know, and so these are just things we have to remember as far as how the patterns work in Tlingit. And then if you put ch in front of it, and then add this suffix, now you've got before. So you'd say, chochaich, I always eat it. Spam chochaich, if I eat spam every day, right? Spam, chochaich, I haven't eaten spam yet. Spam, chochaich, or type spam, chochaich, before I ate spam. Okay. And then that gets us down to the conditional. The conditional really has two things, right? So I like to think of the classifier as just being in a default state. Are we going to add the I to it or not? That's when we change it. So the classifier stays minus I. The conjugation prefix of the verb gets activated, and then you add ni at the end. So we can look at these, and then we can sort of go back into the verb database, which I can find. And then we can go and we can just start looking at aadé yeenáx. Okay, that does what I thought it would do, right? But when we look at, what do we want? A conditional. Aadé akanas héni. So the trick with any of those is if we go into the conjugator, this also shows us, so here's conditionals. This is all organized because if the conjugation prefix of the verb gets activated, right? Now we have to separate all these cards. So this is zero conjugation. We're going to go through all the classifiers. 0, D plus 0, S, D plus S, L, D plus L, SH, D plus SH. Then we get to the na. Yes. Anya nachtla.
Yeah, Gelchish, I want to make sure I'm understanding what the conditional does correctly. It's if when something happens,
I would
right? But like,
I would say more like whenever.
whenever.
Yes. So it's not like when I eat, I'm gonna go to the store. It's like whenever I eat, like, or I could say,
Yeah.
wasus tlatachani chadda. Oh, how am I gonna say it? Chaddaneni. And then you should follow that with probably a habitual or repetitive.
Okay.
Then say tzedk ach kat ugutch. Every time whenever I drink milk, I get diarrhea.
Yeah.
Not everybody's lactose intolerant, but
So
they'll give you a glass of milk.
so in like a sentence where you'd be using the conditional, it would normally come first.
Yeah, it
Okay.
usually is. So like what was the one I saw just the other day? Yeast qunne'eni kesh kukashkench. When fall comes, it's bad weather. It's always bad weather. But yeah, it's really cause and effect type of thing. It's not really like when I do this, I'm going to do this other thing. That's getting, or like it's this, that, or when the other thing. So we use a qa away or a itch away just to sort of like sequence things with time and like order of events. But when we start saying like it's this, that, I'm glad you're here. Those are used with subordinate forms, right? The dependent clause. Ach tu yake yake iti. So a lot of learners, as once they see the conditional, they want to use this just as like tying two things together just all the time. But it's really like whenever this thing happens, this other thing always happens. That's kind of how I like to think. So it's not used a whole lot, to be honest. But it's good to know how to do it. Because they'll say, when you throw a rock in the water, bad weather comes. At least Teslin Lake. I learned that the hard way.
Wait, is that a Tlingit belief in general?
Well, yeah, because I was told, and then the bad weather came.
Oh, I've never.
We were just taking a break. Yeah, and I was just skipping rocks.
Oh,
And
aadé chatnaim.
no, then an elder
Just
said,
throwing rocks in there.
yeah, an elder told me, and then I was like, oh, really? So I just stopped. And then it was a nice, bright, sunny day. Yeah, 20 minutes later, we were away.
Is there an assignment for next week? I have to get going really quick, but is there?
Yes, and I'm open to suggestions. What should we talk about? I picked all the other ones. I thought of one today, but then I forgot.
I'm always open to talking about medicines.
Oh, let's do that. That's a great idea. Okay, so we're talking about medicines, especially like things from the land. And if you don't know about anything like that, just do your best and talk it. Medicines, or if you need a fallback, we can do fall things to harvest. How's that?
Do we have a word for stinkweed? Or also called wormwood.
Yes. Watsichtanagu. What's the one they call caribou leaf for like the tea? Is that the same thing? Because
I don't.
Watsichtchai.
I don't know. I know one of my Yupik friends told me about stinkweed, and then Juyak, Crystal Pharaoh, gave me some. It was the first medicine that, usually people tell you, oh, you just take this, you'll feel better in a day. And you're like, yeah, okay. This is the first time someone's told me that, and I was surprised. Just super sick. 2 days later, completely fine.
Wow.
Antibacterial. And anyways.
Yeah, well, Alma Cook was a big believer in if you're sick, she would show up at we're on like the search board together, and she would show up with Tsikshatlin, Katsacht, Kasak Echi, Gandits Achi Hakli. And it was strong. It not like a little dab of Sak Echi, but like a serious amount. And so
What's that last one you said?
Gandits Achi Hakli.
Gunziaji?
Gandits Achi.
Gundasaji. Oddly.
Which
I
is
know
fun.
the last.
When my child was little, she was probably our firstborn, she was probably 2. Maybe someday my kids will watch these videos, but like, why'd you tell so many stories about us? I was making some chai or some tea, and I was putting ganditsachi hatli in there. And she said, what's that? I said, ganditsachi hatli, toagesagu. She goes, no. And so it's called bee poop, but it's honey.
Oh, sheesh.
Ah. Okay, we're ready for next week. Gunchish Yuhan, wukecha, kach wuke yeenáx gunchish. Ask questions.
Sheesh.
You could ask them over the between now and then, or before we start class. It's all good. Is that whoosh? Yay whoosh gach team.
Hey, really quick, have you guys did you ever find out or heard any more about that medicine on the beach that's very small? Gase told me about it. The deer eat it, you pop it, and you put it in the side of your eye. It's not aadé. It's something smaller. Said that she could never leave her grandmother's side, so her sister had to go down and find it.
Huh.
And I keep asking people about that one. I found out a lot. I found out quite a bit about it.
Wow.
I can't find anyone who knows anything about that. The thing that the deer eats off the beach at low tide.
Huh. Okay.
You
Yeah.
asked Ye about it?
I haven't. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I will do that.
Konnecho ausaku. Hanal.
Yeah. Chosaku. Sheesh, you want?
We'll find out on Tuesday what you find out.
Yeah. All right. See you, Kosati.
Okay.